This program is brought to you by the Vegetarian Society of Hawaii, a nonprofit organization dedicated to sharing with the community the many benefits of a vegetarian diet. Free monthly meetings include vegetarian experts found locally and on the mainland, quick and easy cooking demonstrations, and healthful and delicious food samples. Members enjoy an informative quarterly newsletter, social activities, and discounts at many vegetarian-friendly restaurants and health food stores. For an application, call 944-8344. That's 944-8344. Or visit our website at www.vsh.org. vsh.org.
He's a retired physician, emergency room physician from Kaiser. He's on the board of the Vegetarian Society, the author of The Scientific Basis of Vegetarianism. He produces this TV show from the Vegetarian Society lectures. It's on every Thursday, Channel 52. So I think Bill can tell you a little bit more about himself. He does trampoline and all sorts of exciting things. So here's Bill Harris.
Good evening. I'm glad you could all come. My name is Bill Harris. I'm a retired Kaiser emergency room doc. I worked for 35 years sewing up lacerations and setting bones, and taking care of people who made themselves sick by eating the wrong food. I've been a vegetarian since 1950 and a vegan since 1963. A vegan is a vegetarian who uses no animal food at all. But I don't expect you all to run out and say you're going to become vegans. I just want to give you the reasons why it makes sense. So we're going to be talking about primarily the environmental effect of animal agriculture here and why it's unnecessary to use animal food. The very simple reason, in a nutshell, I'll tell you right off, all of the essential organic nutrients required in the human diet, and that includes about 10 essential amino acids, 2 essential fatty acids, all the vitamins. All of those things are synthesized only by plants. They're not synthesized by animals. You're just getting them secondhand when you eat animal food. I'm going to sit down since I'm going to be working from my laptop. This is a well-known PETA slide. Think you can be a meat-eating environmentalist? Think again. If you give a damn about the planet, go vegetarian. This is the Vegetarian Society of Hawaii. You can reach us at this address, and we're also on the web. We have an email address. There's 2 categories of foods that you have to have. You have to have certain essential minerals. All of these colored elements in the periodic table are not synthesized by animals or by plants. They're the result of nuclear fusion processes that took place in stars that blew up 5 billion years ago. So you certainly don't have to eat animals to get these. This is where the trouble starts with animal agriculture. There are energy losses that occur at every stage of the food chain. And here we have, from the Scientific American, an illustration of a certain amount of solar radiation coming into this cube here. And by the time the corn plant has absorbed that solar radiation, there's only this much energy left, just this little tiny cube. Now, once this little bug, a herbivore, has finished eating parts of the corn plant, the little cube of energy has gone down even more. When a mouse comes along and eats the bug, the cube diminishes some more, and finally, by the time the owl gets finished polishing off the mouse, there's only this much of that original energy. So there are energy losses at every stage of the food chain, and there are also losses of other things. For instance, here is the conversion efficiency of various animal foods. Lamb, the protein efficiency is only about 3.5%, and the calorie efficiency is probably only about 3%. And beef is not much better, pork is not much better, chicken not much better. Eggs seem to be the best of a bad lot. You're probably getting about 26-27% efficiency for the protein conversion between the feed that the chicken eats and the protein content of the eggs that the chicken lays. As far as calorie efficiency goes, it's about 18% efficient. But you subtract any of these numbers from 100 and you see that even eggs, which are the most efficient of all the protein conversion mechanisms, are losing about 73% of the protein and 83% of the calories. So it's not a very good deal. Now, as I said before, all of the essential nutrients required in the human diet are synthesized by plants and microorganisms only. None of them are synthesized by animals, so you do not have to eat animal food to be properly nourished. And when you eat animal food, you're just getting secondhand nutrition. The origin of all the nutrition on the planet is photosynthesis, which occurs in the cells of the green plant. Sunlight comes in, bombards the plant. Plant absorbs water and carbon dioxide, and then it produces first glucose. And from glucose, with the addition of these elements at certain critical points, you can produce all of the essential amino acids. There's 10 of them, a couple of fatty acids, and all of the true vitamins, plus all of the phytonutrients, which are things that we're just discovering now. There's hundreds of them, and they all have very important cancer-fighting properties. Now, this is the way we're using our land in the United States. U.S. agricultural land use, this is according to the great boogeyman himself, the United States Department of Agriculture, which is responsible for most of the ill health in this country, in my opinion, since they carefully subsidize only the most damaging foods and leave the fruits and the vegetables to float on the agricultural free market. And you can see that not much land is used to make fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables should be the major part of the human diet. Okay, so the rest of this stuff, here's 650 million acres for cattle grazing, 200 million acres for animal feed, and maybe 75 million acres for hay, and just this tiny little bit for fruits and vegetables. This is not an efficient way to grow food. This is land use efficiency for various crops. You can get maybe 850 kilograms of protein per acre per year just from growing grass, and 825 for leaf protein, and cabbage, snap beans, green peas, corn, potatoes, rice. And then we get into the animal foods, and you see here that there's a drastic reduction in the amount of protein that you can get out of an acre in a year. It really goes down big time. This is how we're matching up with the animal populations in this country. There are 260 million humans as of the time this graph was made. I guess we're probably up to 270 by now, but there's 8.1 billion animals, so there are 30 times more farm animals in the United States than there are people. That doesn't make much sense to me. Most of them are chickens, as it happens. The hogs and the cattle and dairy cows don't seem to outnumber us. Annual water intake. Okay, here's where all the water is going. This is something we have to think about if we're going to maintain aquifers all over the country. The chickens are using 275 billion gallons of water a year. Cattle maybe 250. The hogs 150. Dairy cows 125. The humans are down here, and the turkeys less than us. There are various estimates on how much water is necessary to make 1 pound of beef. John Robbins, when he wrote Diet for a New America, used the estimate of about 2,500 gallons. The cattleman would like you to believe that it's only about, maybe 500 gallons for a pound of beef. Now, I don't know which one of those figures is right, but obviously it's a lot more than it takes to grow potatoes, wheat, corn, soybeans, and rice. This is the other problem. What you put in one end of the animal, it comes out modified from the other end, and as it turns out, U.S. farm animals are now generating 130 times as much fecal material as we are. And that stuff does not improve the environment. Here's an example. This is a manure lagoon that overflowed in 2001. You may remember there was a hurricane down in South Carolina, about 1998. Absolutely devastated the place, and there is pig manure heavily contaminating all the waterways. Now, this is a classic example of how to waste ecological resources. This is a dairy cow. You put 275 pounds of water and 48 pounds of dry matter into one end of the cow, and you get 160 pounds of cow poop and cow urine out the other end. You get 70 pounds of milk. That doesn't look to me like a striking bargain, particularly since there is nothing in that milk that you can't get from plant sources. The cow did not manufacture the calcium. The cow did not actually manufacture any of the essential nutrients that you depend on from eating the various dairy products. Quote from the EPA itself: nutrients including nitrogen are the fifth leading type of pollutants contributing to the impairment of rivers, lakes, and streams. Nitrogen occurs in meat and poultry products, etc., etc. We can go on from there. Here's an example of what happens. These tributaries that drain into the Mississippi dump all of the agricultural sludge into the Gulf of Mexico, and this little brown patch here is now known as the hypoxic zone. It's virtually lifeless down there. They call it the dead zone. It's killing off all aquatic life. There are some other penalties from animal food production. We no longer just grow our food in the rural ways our ancestors did. We use tractors and heavy machinery and trucks to take the stuff to and from market. And so here are the food calories that you get out of a certain number of fuel calories. There's calories of food per calorie of fossil fuel, counting in the cost of the petroleum products that it takes to run the tractors. You get a lot out of soybeans and corn and wheat, but then you get down here to chicken and beef and pork, and you're paying a pretty high fuel expense to raise those foods. It takes on average 28 calories of fossil fuel energy to produce 1 calorie of meat for human consumption. Only takes 3.3 calories fossil fuel energy to produce 1 calorie of protein from grain for human consumption. That, once again, is from David Pimentel. Percent of U.S. crop used as farm animal feed. Most of the USDA price supports go to animal feeds. They don't go to feed humans. USDA is keeping the meat and dairy industries afloat at all costs by giving supports for the feed grains: sorghum, corn, oats, barley, soybeans. Now, I'm going to be getting a little bit into some of the reasons why it's not a great idea to eat animal food. This is an animal cell over on the side here. This is the nucleus in here, and here's the nucleus of a plant cell. And this is a cell membrane going around the outside of the animal cell. And that cell membrane is made out of fat, phospholipids, they're called. Now, the plant cell also has a phospholipid membrane, but on the outside of the plant cell, there is a tough, fibrous layer of cellulose, also known as fiber, and that's what keeps the plant cell together. So the plant cell doesn't need cholesterol to reinforce it, whereas the animal cell does, and there's cholesterol liberally sprinkled throughout this animal cell membrane, along with a lot of saturated fat. Once again, environmental damage from animal agriculture, aquifer depletion, water contamination, decreased biodiversity, aquatic ecosystem damage, greenhouse gas production, acid rain. Here's how they grow chickens nowadays. It's not like ma and pa kettle on the farm anymore. They stuff them into these factories as close together as they can get them. Modern broiler chicken or turkey houses are poultry cities holding up to 70,000 genetically similar birds in close confinement. Waste pollutes rivers and streams, and disease spreads quickly. This is how they raise hogs. That's not ma and pa kettle either. And even when you have these animals out on the range, this is what the range starts to look like, because you get desertification. The animals eat all of the green stuff and they're walking around on desert. So the question is whether we get our protein from animals or plants has direct implications for how much more of the world's remaining forests we have to raise. Here are some things growing down in the Amazon rainforest. These are nice-looking creatures. I don't see that they've ever done anything to deserve having their homes uprooted. This is a beautiful Amazon creature also. This is the Rainforest Action Network. Here are the culprits. They don't look evil. They actually look quite nice. I'm rather fond of cows, but the fact is, livestock herds are large-scale producers of gas emissions. All animals emit carbon dioxide, while ruminants also produce methane, third gas responsible for global warming. Nitrous oxide is released from manure. Okay, now, the question is, what's in it for me? Well, I'm going to try to explain what's in it for you. This is the nutrient analysis of a hamburger, French fries, and a chocolate shake. This red arrow here, which you will see in some more shots that I'm going to do. The RDA arrow, RDA means recommended dietary allowance. And if you ate nothing but the Big Mac meal that I just described, you'd get enough of everything on the right side of this RDA line, but you'd be seriously on the shorts for everything on the left. That's not the way you should be eating, because you're going to wind up on the shorts for a lot of nutrients. This has 246 milligrams of cholesterol. The upper limit RDA for cholesterol is 300, so you almost made it. It's got way too much salt, sodium 3755 milligrams. Forget about the cost, that's just an estimate. Protein 14%, carbs 57, and fat 29. And that's why a lot of Americans are starting to look like this. American guys, that is. And a lot of American women are starting to read books like this, because the number one problem in the United States today is obesity and overweight. And we didn't get that way by accident. It just didn't suddenly happen overnight. There's some other problems associated with animal food consumption. This is the grams of animal fat per capita per day for all these different countries versus the age-adjusted heart deaths per 100,000 per year. The regression line here and the correlation coefficient is pretty high. It's 0.83 and the p-value is less than 0.05, which is usually taken as being of significance. If you plot it the other way, percent of daily calories from plants, the line goes the other direction. The more plant food you eat, the lower the deaths from heart attacks. Now, there's good, easy reason for this. If you're eating all plant foods and you fill your stomach with this stuff, this stomach is all full of really healthy plant foods. It's 400 calories. There's only 400 calories in there. You can't get any more food in there because the stomach maxes out at about 1 liter. After that, it's finished, and it's starting to send signals up to your brain that, hey, ouch, it's starting to hurt down here. Don't send any more food down. The mechanism that does that is the stretch receptor, which lines the stomach, and it signals when the stomach is full. But look over here. We've got 400 calories of chicken. There's still plenty of room here. Furthermore, the chicken is seriously deficient in a lot of nutrients, so you're going to have to keep eating in order to make your nutrient requirements, and that's what you do, and you wind up with a stomach full of more than 400 calories of food that really isn't very healthy. And then, of course, 400 calories of oil is even worse. And this is the result. Here's an example of a very healthy recipe. It's not the one we're going to make tonight. By the way, there is a payoff for sitting through this. You get fed. We've got some really good food from down to earth. But this is how you make V4 juice. You just take a whole lot of parsley, more parsley than you would ever dream you could eat, some carrots, some celery, and some tomato, and you throw in a little T6635 Red Star yeast, which gives you vitamin B12. And this is what it looks like before it goes into this juicer here. And here's the nutrient analysis on this. Now, here's the RDA arrow again. And you can see that everything is out to the right of the RDA. It's got enough protein, it's got enough zinc, calcium. All of these things are in great supply. And if it didn't have so darn much vitamin A, you would be able to see how much more of these other essential nutrients it has as compared with that Big Mac attack. Okay, this is a super simple recipe, but you wouldn't think of basing your entire day's intake on this, would you? It wouldn't work. Well, it does. This is what you get from just that simple, very attractive, healthy salad. You've got everything in here but vitamin B12. You've got plenty of calcium, plenty of protein, everything else. 21% protein. You only need 10% of calories from protein. Doesn't have much fat. Doesn't have a lot of sodium. It's a healthy diet. The only thing missing is vitamin B12, and we could have fixed that if we'd put some Red Star yeast in the salad dressing. There's protein in everything. All this leafy stuff is loaded with protein. Leafy green vegetables are between 40 and 50% of calories from protein. There is never any problem getting protein. The protein issue is a bugaboo. If you're eating a reasonably healthy, any kind of diet, you're going to get enough protein. Here's another interesting mix. This is our vegetable smoothie. I was thinking of bringing it, but it's quite bulky. You probably would not think that you could eat this much green stuff and these seeds over here, but after you run it through a blender, it comes out looking like this. That doesn't look too appetizing, does it? But actually, that did not come out of a pasture. That came out of the Vitamix. Okay, now this is the rundown on that vegetable smoothie. It's got 100% or more of everything. It's got a lot of fat because I use seeds. Seeds are high in fat, but I don't think it makes any difference as long as it's natural plant fat. And it's got a lot of protein, 14%, no cholesterol, not too much sodium, and it's got a lot of alpha-linolenic acid, which I may mention later, which is an essential fatty acid. Okay, now this is the one we're going to make for you tonight. This is the fruit smoothie, and if you want to get the complete recipe on this, you can find it online at this address. Just remember vsh.org. That's the Vegetarian Society webpage, and you stick it in the blender. This is not an egg. That's frozen orange juice. And it looks like this. And that's what you're going to be having for dessert tonight. And the fruit smoothie is also 100% of the RDA per calorie for everything. Got lots of vitamin C. Just barely makes it on protein. And it's got enough of these other things. Here's the RDA arrow. Once again, if you get all of your calories for the day from this fruit smoothie, you would obviously get enough of all these other things. So this is a plug for the 5-a-day program. Hawaii 5-a-day Coalition is urging everybody in the state to eat more fruits and vegetables. They want 5 a day. My recommendation is 15 a day. Lastly, if you want to keep up with what's going on with the Vegetarian Society, tune your TV to Channel 52 at 6 o'clock every Thursday. Okay, I'm going to fix up the smoothie. The nice thing about this is if you don't feel like making food in it, you can always mix concrete. It's a very powerful blender. So we take some frozen strawberries and dump them in like that. And then a can of frozen orange juice concentrate. I know the raw fooders would probably complain about this cheating, but it's pretty healthy. I have to tell you that while not all my friends like this is my absolutely favorite food for myself. And I always feel the best after I've had one of these for my day's food rather than some cooked stuff. I use the eyeball method of cuisine. Take a look at how much there is in there. And we go over to the faucet here, and my eyeball tells me that that's about the right amount of water. So we all know what's in the orange juice. It's got a lot of vitamin C, has a lot of calcium, and I think we all know how tasty strawberries are, but we may not know that strawberries also have a very powerful cancer-fighting agent called ellagic acid. Now these are sunflower seeds. Whole. Don't try to do it with the unhulled one. That's about a half cup of sunflower seeds. guess on what these things are? You can't see them, they're pretty small. Those are unhulled sesame seeds. Now, why do I want to use unhulled sesame seeds?
Calcium?
Calcium, exactly. How did you know that?
I don't know.
Well, you were right. Very important. These are unhulled sesame seeds. If you hull them, if you remove the outer part of the seed, you lose most of the calcium. There's 1,100 milligrams of calcium and 100 grams of brown sesame seeds. But if you take the hull off, you're down to 300 milligrams. So you lose a lot of calcium when you do that. Okay, any guess on these? Insects, maybe?
Flax.
Flax. You get. Who said flax? Okay, you get an extra helping.
Thank you.
Why do I want to put flax in here?
Omega-3.
Omega-3. Well, let's be a little more specific, because while it is an omega-3, it is in fact alpha-linolenic acid, which is the only essential omega-3 fatty acid. There are a couple of other omega-3 fatty acids, but you can make those yourself enzymatically. So the only one you really need is alpha-linolenic acid. Now, this is the Red Star nutritional yeast. I only put in about a teaspoon because it doesn't really belong in a fruit smoothie. It's more for the vegetable smoothie. But it has vitamin B12. And on a vegan diet, if you're only eating plant foods, you're not going to get any vitamin B12 unless you hedge your bets and throw in a vitamin pill or put in some Red Star yeast. Okay, now the first rule of safety around the Vitamix is to stuff your ears with Kleenex. As you get older, you will find that your days listening to rock and roll have caught up to you, and your ears are going bad. And so the last thing you want to do is be listening to a Vitamix. There's a cup right there. I usually just flat that thing down, but I expect the rest of you would appreciate it if I did that. Now, the reason that I want to try to get this as smooth as possible is because the more like a milkshake you get this to be, the easier the digestion. You increase the surface area of the particles. As a matter of fact, you increase the surface area to the point where you have enormously increased area for your digestive enzymes to act on. Still a little bit granular. I'm going to give a little more. Actually, I put too much water in this. Well, I'm probably not going to get any better than that. So, okay, how should we do this now?
Well, that's a good question. I think I'll just pass them out to people.
Well, you have some goodies too, right? How many questions do we have?
We have lots of food, but we were thinking maybe we do a question and answer and then have a big spread of food for people to eat.
Let's try one question. The gentleman over there.
A lot of what you read is that some of the fruits in particular, like strawberries and other berries and stuff that are really very good for you, are also some of the things that are most pesticided in terms of in their production. The question is what's the balance? I mean, we don't have a whole lot of sources out here for organic blueberries and strawberries and things like that. So I'm just curious what your take is on the whole pesticide issue with these very healthy foods.
Somebody once asked Groucho Marx, "How's your wife?" And Groucho responded, "Compared to what?" That was a Groucho Marx question. And I don't really have the answer for it. You're right. Almost our entire food supply is contaminated, but the pesticide contamination in all the animal foods is about 10 times higher than it is in plant foods, because pesticides are organic fat-soluble molecules, and they accumulate within the animal and the fat cells of the animal. Whereas if you put the pesticides on fruit and vegetables, they stay on the outside of the fruits and vegetables. That's where they're supposed to be, because their whole intent is to try to kill the bugs that come along and eat them. So I would say that while that's a serious question, the answer is pretty easy, that you're always better eating plant food than animal food. So the proper answer is, what's the healthiest food, and how can I get it in the least contaminated condition? And of course, the usual idea is that you buy organically grown food and then you're in better shape. Another question, and then we'll start eating. Okay, I guess we start eating.
This program is brought to you by the Vegetarian Society of Hawaii, a nonprofit organization dedicated to sharing with the community the many benefits of a vegetarian diet. Free monthly meetings include vegetarian experts found locally and on the mainland, quick and easy cooking demonstrations, and helpful and delicious food samples. Members enjoy an informative quarterly newsletter, social activities, and discounts at many vegetarian-friendly restaurants and health food stores. For an application, call 944-8344. That's 944-8344. Or visit our website at www.vsh.org. vsh.org.
My name is Kathy Gogel. I'm a member of Animal Rights Hawaii, and this is Thea, Dronjic, an investigator with Animals Angels. We are here today in front of the State Department of Agriculture to bring a story that people don't really know very much about. People think that local pork that they buy in the markets downtown are from local pigs. This is, for the most part, not true. A very large portion of pigs who are slaughtered at the local slaughterhouse here on Oahu have a terribly long, horrible journey all the way from Canada into the United States and then onto a barge that takes them across the ocean to Honolulu before they're finally slaughtered. This is a very cruel and horrible journey for these animals. And we have documented a great deal of the cruelty that has occurred during this journey. We have asked Animals Angels, which is an internationally known animal organization that monitors and investigates livestock transport, to look into the transport of these pigs, and they did last October. We have footage of their investigation, which we have made available to the media, and Ms. Dronjic will now briefly tell you about what they found during their investigation.
Animals Angels trailed the truck with pigs from Alberta, Canada until Honolulu Port on Oahu Island, Hawaii. During this journey, which lasted for 8.5 days, we observed several irregularities. One of the most outstanding was that pigs have not been unloaded for 8.5 days from so-called containers. This is the transporters in which they were transported. They were trailed from Alberta to Vacaville, California, where they stand for 3 days inside the containers. They have been, however, fed and watered. But due to the very hard and very hot weather, there was around 90 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, pigs did suffer severe dehydration. The footage shows that 2 of pigs died on the short journey from Canada to California. There have been more deaths on the boat from Vacaville to Hawaii. What else we observed was that even though they had food with them for the journey, this feed ran out 1 day prior to the arrival to the Oahu Island. Pigs were severely dehydrated. They have been laying down and standing in dirty containers, and they have had very severe skin burns due to the hard weather, which means sun, saline water coming from the sea, and insect bites. We would like to ask the government if there could be done something in order to finish the trade from Canada to Hawaii, since this trade and the trail is really long and it does cause many and profound pain and suffering to the animals.
After the pigs arrived at the slaughterhouse, they were unloaded in a very unprofessional manner. The footage shows one pig being pulled by the ear because she was not able to walk on her own. The enclosure at the so-called new slaughterhouse at Kalailoa was unacceptable for keeping pigs, although we understand that pigs are kept for up to 2 weeks at a time. On bare concrete, there is no drainage for urine and feces. The food is not given to them in troughs. It's thrown into the pen where it gets trampled into the filth so that the food is not available for the pigs. The state of Hawaii and the Department of Agriculture, in front of which we stand, was responsible for spending at the behest of the livestock industry to build a new slaughterhouse at Kalailoa. The reasoning behind this slaughterhouse was, number one, to provide hot pork, the unrefrigerated flesh of a pig recently slaughtered, in the markets in Chinatown, and two, to kill dairy cows who can no longer give milk. Interestingly enough, over half the pigs that are slaughtered at this slaughterhouse come all the way from Canada because the local piggeries cannot produce enough pigs. So the reasoning behind building this slaughterhouse with all kinds of perks, they're not paying any rent yet. Palama Meat Company, which was supposed to have been guaranteeing the loan to the slaughterhouse, went bankrupt a year ago. The livestock industry in Hawaii is foundering, and we feel that bringing in thousands of pigs at great cost in suffering is not justified at all. Ms. Dronjic, who made a special trip to Hawaii from Australia, attempted to speak with the president of the Hawaii Livestock Cooperative. He was not willing to allow her to see the premises, nor was he interested in the very detailed report that Animals Angels had done on the animal transport. So we hope that by providing all of this information that those who are in charge in government will try to make life a little bit easier for the animals whose ultimate destination is the dinner plate.
Today, we are lucky enough to enjoy fruits and vegetables from all over the world. Oranges imported from Spain, pineapples from Portugal, red and white wine from Germany, France, and California. But what about our meat and dairy products? Are they also transported all over the world? The answer is yes, but not always as meat and milk, but often as still living, sentient individuals. This long-distance transport often causes intense suffering and even death for some animals. They are kept crowded and are given very little or no water and food, and thus easily become injured, weak, and dehydrated. Is this suffering and stress justified? Animals Angels inspectors are regularly on the road, accompanying animals during their long journeys to slaughterhouses and collecting stations all over the world. We do this to get a true picture of the welfare problems involved, but to also try to alleviate any suffering that we can. Recently, Animals Angels visited Canada because we had heard that Canadian pigs from Alberta were regularly arriving to a slaughterhouse in Hawaii. Pigs from farms across Alberta are transported here to Perlish Brothers collecting station located near Lethbridge. Some of the pigs die even on this short stretch. We observed 2 dead pigs at this collecting station, One corpse had been there for what appeared to be a long time. This is a sanitation problem and poses a threat to the spread of disease. With the use of electric prods, we observed 450 pigs loaded onto 2 livestock trucks from the company HE at 12:30 p.m. on Tuesday, October 5th. Both trucks left the premise and started the long journey to California. We have followed pigs on this route before in 2003. Canadian trucks are not equipped with a drinking water system for the animals, and thus during the entire voyage from Canada to California, the pigs are not given anything to drink. They become dehydrated and desperate for water. The temperature inside a truck rises quickly, especially in the summer and during daytime. Another serious problem during long-distance transport is the high ammonia level. With 230 live animals on board one truck, the amount of defecation and urine accumulated after a long journey makes the ammonia level unbearable, as it burns the throat and eyes. That is why the truck driver wore a mask while unloading them. But the pigs had to breathe this in the whole time. This year, we decided to wait at a gas station near the Nevada-California border for the 2 HE trucks to pass, but we missed them. They had actually arrived at a collecting station in Vacaville, California, only 28 hours after leaving Canada. This surprised us, as last year the voyage took 36 hours. The next day we learned from a stall worker that the 2 drivers from the HE trucks had arrived so early because they had not respected the law regarding required sleep and resting breaks. They had both driven non-stop to Vacaville. If the legislation is respected, such a journey should take 2 days.
Crikey, how long does that take?
Well, it's supposed to take about 2 days, but it takes only legally.
Right.
It's about 28 hours, maybe 30 hours. Or I mean, 2 days of driving. Okay, one driver, it takes them 1 day.
Crikey, they do it in 1 day.
Well, they leave there at 4:30 from the border. Tuesday at 4:30.
Yeah.
And they're here Wednesday at 4:30.
The pigs were loaded at Perlish Brothers Collecting Station in Lethbridge, Alberta at 12:30 p.m. on Tuesday, October 5th, and arrived at Pacific Livestock Collecting Station on Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. In total, the truck journey took 28 hours, and during this time, not once were the pigs given any water to drink, and not once did the single driver sleep. The collecting station in Vacaville is owned by Pacific Livestock. The place is actually not a station, but rather a collection of run-down ship containers. It was a shock to learn that the Canadian pigs, upon arrival here, are unloaded directly from the truck into these filthy containers.
So how do you load them up here? Have you got ramps and stuff?
Well, actually what happens is the trucks usually unload right from the truck to the trailer, right to the container.
From this truck here?
Yeah, well, the trucks last night unloaded into there.
Okay, they go straight into that.
Yeah.
So they're not even go onto the ground?
Well, because they're going to go right into there. So that container there is going to go right in that container.
So just back it straight up to it. And
the pigs are just as crowded and hot in these containers as they were on the trucks. After being transported for 28 hours, these pigs are not even given a clean or comfortable place to rest after the long journey. It is no wonder that Canadian pigs have died during the journey from Alberta to the Pacific Livestock Station.
And do you have any mortality rate at all with it? Or
the mortality rate is basically comes out of Canada if there's a problem.
Yeah, when it comes here, is it?
If it's hot. It's real hot.
The pigs were kept in these old, crowded containers for approximately 34 hours before they were loaded onto newer ship containers and transported to Oakland Harbor on Friday morning. It is now the pigs' 4th day of the journey. We were not allowed to enter Oakland Harbor, but we found out that the Matson-owned ship would leave later that evening and head for Honolulu Harbor on Oahu Island, Hawaii. 8 p.m. Tuesday, October 12th. The pigs finally arrive in Honolulu Harbor in Oahu, but the containers are not unloaded until 3:30 a.m. the following day, even though the heat for the pigs on board is sweltering because there is no longer any air movement. The stockman from the ship tells us later that he had to hose them down twice in the harbor because of the heat stress. At 6 a.m., 2 trucks arrive at the harbor and load the pig containers. They then make their way towards the highway. The pigs in the containers were loaded onto the Matson ship in Oakland Harbor on Friday, October 8th, and were unloaded from the ship in Honolulu Harbor on Wednesday, October 13th, making the ship journey a total of 5.5 days. The pigs had had access to water nipples during the journey, but the food had run out 1 day prior to arrival. After a transport time of 1.5 hours, the trucks finally arrive at Hawaii Livestock Co-op, a slaughterhouse in Campbell Industrial Park located on the island of Oahu. The long journey has come to an end, but this does not bring any relief to the pigs. Just the unloading by the slaughterhouse employee is so brutal. We are shocked to witness him dragging a badly injured pig down the ramp and then hitting her to make her walk into the slaughterhouse, even though her hind legs are badly injured. This pig was evidently suffering. Why was she not put out of her misery? She had been forced to endure a long and tiring transport journey from Canada and was given inadequate amounts of feed and water, probably got very little sleep, and suffered from heat stress and overcrowding. But she was not the only one to have suffered badly during the transport journey. We learned that 2 pigs even died during the boat journey from Oakland to Oahu.
And did you have any problems? Did you lose any? 2 of them. 2, yeah. What was that from?
I don't know. Probably a combination of things.
Yeah.
Inside the slaughterhouse there are hundreds of pigs. 90% of them are from Canada. The number of pigs killed every week depends on the demand for carcasses from companies like Wong Meats and Hawaii Foods, and thus many pigs here are left over from delivery 2 weeks earlier. We could tell which pigs had already waited in these crowded and barren stalls for 2 weeks. They were the dirtier and more lethargic ones, many of which were coughing heavily. We would have liked to observe the slaughtering of the pigs to see if they were correctly stunned, but, as in the case of many slaughterhouses, we were shown everything that took place after the slaughtering, but not the slaughtering itself. They did not grant us permission to view the actual killing process. Fresh hot pork is very popular in Hawaii. Hawaii claims that it itself does not produce enough pigs to fit the demand, and that is why it imports so many live pigs. They insist of importing them live because fresh hot pork cannot have been chilled or frozen. So they slaughter the pigs and the very next day sell the meat at the market. They choose Canada as the main supplier, insisting that there is always a guaranteed supply of good quality hogs. By the time the Canadian pigs endure all the stress during the long transport to Hawaii, it is questionable if they are still good quality. The pigs left Perlish Brothers Collecting Station in Lethbridge, Alberta on Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. and arrived at Hawaii Livestock Co-op Slaughterhouse on Wednesday, October 13th at 7:30 a.m. In total, this transport journey took 8 days. According to the Canadian legislation, this transport route is illegal as the pigs are not protected from adverse weather or unloaded after 36 hours of transport, but instead directly onto old ship containers. From a human safety side, this long truck route is also clearly illegal because the drivers do not respect their required rest and sleep breaks. Animals Angels insist that this long-distance route be put to a stop immediately. We call on the head CFIA office in Ottawa, the CFIA office in Lethbridge, and the Canadian Ministry of Agriculture to ensure that this please be done. Animals Angels also ask that people in Hawaii to please reduce their consumption of fresh hot pork. We also ask that Hawaii Co-op Livestock Slaughterhouse seek an alternative product to produce, or a supply of pigs from a local source.
On the basis of that, we stress to the government how much harm does this do to the animals, since they did not have a good animal welfare law. On the basis of that, they're going to pass a new animal welfare law in the year 2007. And this is what we are not getting from government here. We are giving out evidence, but we are not getting any kind of feedback or interest from them that they would like to do something.
On the right agency, though. We need to focus on the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and I don't know, maybe OSHA as well.
So the only agency that has the ability right now is the State Department of Agriculture, because when those pigs come in, they should be. The state of Hawaii has very...
Have you identified any laws and regs that you suspect may have been violated by?
Yes, the state cruelty statute. But the Hawaiian Humane Society chooses not to involve themselves in farmed animal issues. Last year we tried to get gestation crates for sows and veal crates outlawed. We had a hearing. They asked the department. The department said, we don't think it's necessary, period. Whatever. So we had lots of proof of the cruelty of those crates. It didn't make any difference. The department said, no problem. So the bill died. That's the power that this department has. Even when we go to board meetings of the Board of Agriculture, and I ask the people who are involved personally in the livestock industry to recuse themselves when making decisions on sending money to the livestock industry, they refuse to do it. So I know you're looking at it perhaps from a little bit farther back, but having been involved in this for so many years, a lot of the buck stops right in there.
This program is brought to you by the Vegetarian Society of Hawaii, a nonprofit organization dedicated to sharing with the community the many benefits of a vegetarian diet. Free monthly meetings include vegetarian experts found locally and on the mainland, quick and easy cooking demonstrations, and healthful and delicious food samples. Members enjoy an informative quarterly newsletter, social activities, and discounts at many vegetarian-friendly restaurants and health food stores. For an application, call 944-8344. That's 944-8344, or visit our website at www.vsh.org.
It sits there alone, a building made of stone, modern, long and wide. But what goes on inside when no one's around? No one cares, for no one really dares their conscience to arouse. For this is just a slaughterhouse. This is just a slaughterhouse. Let's step inside, just you and I, and we shall surely see the dark side of humanity, violence and brutality. What's that you say? It doesn't matter anyway. This is why animals are born. For the slaughterhouse. This is just the slaughterhouse. In the back, behind the gate, God's creatures await their fate. Horses, cattle, pigs and sheep, chickens and turkeys, 3 pens deep. Like you and I, they don't want to die, just live out their lives somehow. and not be at the slaughterhouse. But this is just the slaughterhouse. Inside the back door, screams turn into a roar. The air is thick with fear. Stun guns smash, butcher knives slash, and blood and guts hit the floor. Above it all, as the innocents die, you can hear the angels cry. In the slaughterhouse, this is just the slaughterhouse. I pray God there will come a day when we will find a better way. For we don't really know the cost of this, our own Holocaust. We can survive off God's green earth and finally realize our true worth and close the slaughterhouse. We don't need the slaughterhouse. Let's close the slaughterhouse.
This program is brought to you by the Vegetarian Society of Hawaii, a nonprofit organization dedicated to sharing with the community the many benefits of a vegetarian diet. Free monthly meetings include vegetarian experts found locally and on the mainland, quick and easy cooking demonstrations, and healthful and delicious food samples. Members enjoy an informative quarterly newsletter, social activities, and discounts at many vegetarian-friendly restaurants and health food stores. For an application, call 944-8344. That's 944-8344. Or visit our website at www.vsh.org. vsh.org.